Hello and welcome to Cheers. That's one woman's opinion. As you can see, I'm not at my desk chair, where I usually am. I was walking my dog today and went farther than I should have and have hurt my ankle because I have some ankle issues. So I'm on my recliner so that I can prop my ankle up. So today we are looking at Cheers, episode 9 of season 1, which is called Coach Returns to Action. This episode was directed by James Burrows. It was written by Glenn Charles, Les Charles, Burrows, and Earl Pomerantz. The guest cast: Murphy Cross as Nina, Bill Wiley as the tour guide. Wiley died in 2021 from an undisclosed cause. Keon Young, I hope I'm saying his name right. It's spelled Keone. I think it's Keon. As tourist number 1. Eve Smith as tourist number 2. And Smith died in 1997, also from an undisclosed cause. Julia Hendler as the little girl, and John Ratzenberger as Cliff Clavin. In the cold opening, a tour guide brings a group into Cheers because it is cold outside. He claims the bar is a site where Paul Revere's house was. And I actually looked up all these sites. Paul Revere's house is okay. I can't remember writing. Sorry. Yeah. Um. One second. I actually forgot. So let me just look that up quickly. And of course, Paul Revere was a famous American. Oh, North Square, that's what it says. His house was in the North Square in Massachusetts. And the guy then tells Sam he has to get 5 sites by 6 o'clock. So he then tells the group they are also standing on the Granary Berry Grounds, which is in Tremont Street, the old corner bookstore, which is on 283 Washington Street, and the Old North Church, which is 193 Salem Street in Boston. So not only are they obviously not located at Cheers, which we know, they're not even on Beacon Street, where the bar is, where everybody knows your name plays. Sam is on the phone with a sister from St. Matthias School for Girls. Sister Teresa sending over a student with a playbill. And I think this may have been a mistake, but as James Burrows was one of the writers, I'm not sure because a playbill is what you get when you go to the play. It's the program. You get them on Broadway. Some places call just programs, but if you go to Broadway and other big theaters are called playbills. And he says that they're giving them the playbill to hang up to advertise the show. That was usually a poster because I've done theater. That's usually a poster that you hang up. However, as I said, because James Burrows was one of the writers for this episode, his father, as you may or may not know, was Abe Burrows, who was a composer for some Broadway musicals, such as How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, and some others too. So I would assume, I mean, he should know what a playbill is, but I'm not completely sure if that was intentional or if maybe Sam said it wrong. So I was trying to figure this out, but that is definitely the wrong terminology. I feel very discombobulated not being at my desk when I do this. Norm comes in and slides a beer, and Sam slides a beer down to him. This is not his bar slide; he's just sliding it, like pushing it towards him. I clarify that. Diane says she doesn't understand how someone can drink ice cold beer on a cold day. Norm bets Diane $5 that Cliff has an answer for that, and $10 that it's a doozy. And I didn't put this in the quote because it's kind of long, but when Cliff goes on the whole thing about why people drink beer, and Diane's like, okay, so why do they drink it on a cold day? Cliff says, what else you gonna do with it? Love that line. Norm heads to the bathroom, but Carla stops him. She says the pipes are clogged again. She tells Norm he'll have to go to Melville's upstairs. Norm has to put on a suit, jacket, and tie before he's allowed into Melville's. And they actually have a on the side there going up to the stairs. There's always a coat and tie over there that they can put on when they need to go up. Actually, I don't think there's a tie. I think it was only a coat that he put on. Sam tells Carla to watch the bar. She tells everyone they can have anything that doesn't have ice, straws, cherries, and then she names a bunch of other things. And I'm thinking here that Carla's just being lazy because it's not that she doesn't know how to make drinks with all these other things. Because as you remember, she made Diane the leap into an open grave, the family recipe, which had a whole bunch of mixed things. And I know later on, of course, she takes over the bar periodically for Sam, and she makes drinks. So yeah, I'm not sure. Diane puts in an order for an old fashioned, brandy Alexander, and a martini. Carla replies, 3 beers coming up. Carla comes in, sorry, Coach comes in freezing because he isn't wearing a coat. And he says, Diane tells him that it's 30 degrees outside, and Coach says, oh, thank God, I thought I had malaria. Another great line. Coach has been at the apartment of a woman named Nina who lives in his apartment complex. Coach is attracted to Nina and asks her to stop in the bar. The girl from St. Matthias comes in and says that they are doing 12 Angry Men. Diane thinks at first that this is the girl that Coach is referring to, and he's like, no, that's not her. He's like, don't be silly. And then it's even funnier because the little girl says, when she says they're doing 12 Angry Men, she tells Diane they wanted something with meat in it. Nina comes in. Coach shows her around the bar. This is the bar. These are the bottles. This is stool. Things like that. And this scene always makes me laugh because the first time I went to Florida to visit when I was in 8th grade, someone was giving my family and I a tour. It was actually my brother-in-law at the time. He was giving a tour of the area, and he said, "These are trees, and then there's things you can't see past the trees." And I'm like, "This is an interesting tour. You're telling us what we can't see." So it kind of reminded me of that. He introduces her to Diane and tells her Diane is very smart. He tries to introduce Carla, but Carla tells him, I'm busy. Coach explains Carla has been in a bad mood for the last 2 or 3 years. Norm comes down from Melville's. Sorry. Norm comes down from Melville's, and Coach introduces him, explaining that's not Norm's jacket. He introduces Norm and Cliff and explains that Nina's living in his apartment. They cheer, and he clarifies meaning complex, not his actual apartment that he lives in. Sam comes back, unable to fix the plumbing. Coach tells Nina that Sam is handsome, but a bit of a wolf. Sam asks if anyone knows about plumbing. Cliff starts to tell the history of plumbing. I apologize. Cliff starts to tell the history of plumbing, and Sam's like, no, I need somebody to fix the plumbing. And he's like, yeah, all theory. But Carla then wants to go and fix it. And she explains that with 4 children and no husband, she's gotten very good at doing plumbing issues. Diane asks Sam to stay away from Nina, but she doesn't tell him why. Sam thinks that Nina is a friend of Diane's and they are trying to set him up. I thought this was strange that Sam at this point says they're trying to set him up. Because if they wanted to set him up to make him look bad, they would say, go ask her out, because then she could turn him down, etc., and so forth. But she's saying stay away. You can't really do anything if you don't go near a person. So I don't get his logic there. But Diane thanks him, and he decides that she doesn't want him to go out with Nina, and then he decides to ask her out. Sam's logic here is just not very logical. Sam asks Nina to get Chinese with him, and she turns him down. Sam hears clanging in the bathroom. He tells Nina, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go say goodbye to my bathroom. He heads back, stopping to tell Diane that she and her friend made me look like a complete ass. Diane says we couldn't have done it without you. Diane encourages Coach to ask Nina out, but Coach says he hasn't asked a woman out in years. So he's of course a little bit nervous. Carla brings a pipe out from the bathroom, and she tells Sam you can't hold on to things for sentimental reasons. Diane asks Coach how he got women back in his ball playing days, which I always forget that Coach also played ball. But because he talks about before that he'd lean into the pitch and take one in the noggin there. But Coach explains he would injure himself, much like he played baseball. Diane tells him that he doesn't need to do that anymore because Nina's alone and Coach is her only friend. Sam comes out and tells Coach, I think all the talking makes me on. Sorry. I try not to yawn, which always happens. Anyway, Diane tells him that Nina is alone and Coach is her only friend. Sam comes out and tells Coach he is going to go out with Nina and needs Coach to cover for him at the bar. There's a line of men standing at the stairs to Melville's. They have to wait for the suit coat before they can go up. Norm hands off the coat, gets a beer, and returns to the line. And this always makes me laugh because he's standing there drinking like he's ready to go to the bathroom. So I always wondered, this one, is he just standing there to be ready to go to the bathroom again, or did he get thirsty waiting to use the bathroom because somebody was up there and he came back down for another drink to kill time while he waited for the other person? Because I think either one could apply with Norm's situation. Coach tells Diane he doesn't remember the last time a woman said no to Sam. He doesn't want to ask Nina out even after she turns Sam down. However, however, he asks Diane to leave him alone, but she follows him into the men's room. Diane and Carla work together, trying to convince Coach he is a good-looking man. Coach declares he is no Harold Flynn. Diane corrects him and says Errol Flynn. Carla corrects her and explains Harold Flynn was a good-looking baseball player from Chicago who didn't get any hits. I looked up Harold Flynn, and from what I have found, there was a minor league player in Texas from the McAllen Dusters minor league team that played named Harold Flynn. I have not been able to find any Harold Flynns in the major leagues nor in Chicago for any leagues. So I'm assuming that was made up or they forgot where he played. Coach decides he is going to ask Neen out. Carl and Diane shake hands. It's kind of nice seeing Carl and Diane working together for the good of Coach. Because, we all love Coach. Diane says they will make sure Nina doesn't leave. Then she points out all of the graffiti on the walls. Then she notices one that says, for a good time, call Diane Chambers. And she says at least they got the phone number wrong. Carla says that she got it right off of Diane's application. And at first it was interesting because when she said about the application, I thought, why would Diane fill out an application? Sam hired her on the spot. She did not like she went for an interview or anything. But then I thought about that because I've actually had that in the past where I've been hired, but they had to have an application on file. So I'm assuming it was probably that type of a thing that she filled it out after. Sam is still trying to pick up Nina and still having no luck. Norm is starting to get stressed out because Sam is not able to pick Nina up, and he's used to Sam getting anyone that he wants. The tour guide returns with more tourists. Sam tells me cannot keep coming in like that, and the tour guide tells the tourists that the college students are studying for finals, so they have to leave. I love this because it's obviously they're already in the bar at this point, and they can see, unless they're non-traditional students, there are nobody from college really in the bar. So it's quite clear he's lying, but they just go along with it. An older woman observes Seems like all we've done all day long is go from one bar to another. The guide asked her, "What do you want for $8? Minutemen?" Carla tells Nina her super called and her heat is back on. Sam tries again to pick up Nina. And then he gives up and says to Norma Cliff, "Turns out we were cousins." And I'd actually forgotten that it was so yeah, that doesn't succeed with the woman. We're so used to him always getting anyone he wants. Diane tells Coach, sorry, I messed that up. Diane tells Nina that Coach will be right out and wants to see her. She then tells Sam that someone is about to sweep Nina off her feet. He sees she's referring to Coach and says she will crush him. Coach asks Nina out and she says, "I got a lot of unpacking to do." Sam tells him that he was shot down too. Coach says he's made reservations up at Melville's. He goes up the stairs, and then as Nina's saying goodnight, he falls down the stairs. Nina takes Coach home. Coach turns back to Sam and Diane and says, "It works every time." He stops in the stairwell outside and tells Sam, "I may not be in the morning." And that is our episode. I gave this episode 3 out of 5 beer nuts. It was not a bad episode, but it certainly wasn't one of the best. So it was mediocre, like a 3. Of course, the MVP, as you probably already guessed, is Nicholas Colasanto, the coach. He does an amazing job. The whole bathroom scene, I like that a lot. Falling down the stairs. I mean, obviously, Nicholas Colasanto was not throwing himself downstairs. It's probably a stunt double or a dummy of some sort. But I mean, really well done. My favorite line, Coach says to Diane, "I can't remember the last time a woman said no to him," referring to Sam. Nina says to Sam, "Would you bug off?" Diane says to Coach, "Does that refresh your memory?" I like that line. The runner-up for my favorite line, Norm comes in. So it's a Normism, of course. "Sam, what's up, Norm?" "My nipples, it's freezing outside." Well, I killed that one. Let me do that again. "What's up, Norm?" "My nipples, it's freezing outside." Here's a little known fact. In this episode, the men's and women's restrooms are reversed from how they usually are in other episodes on the Cheer set. And my question for our dear listeners, Diane says that Diane tells Sam that his lines are old. My question is, what is the worst pickup line you have ever heard? If you liked this episode, please do all the buttons, like, comment, share, subscribe. And of course, you can join us on Facebook here at Cheers. That's one woman's opinion. I forgot about the light that's messing things up here. Sorry, Elvis. That's right here. Who I'm talking to. This is my dog Elvis. Of course, if you're just listening, you won't see him, but for those of you on YouTube, you'll see him. He went with me on the walk on a her ankle, so he's tired out too. Sorry. Where was I? Oh yeah. And you can also follow us on Instagram here at Cheers One Woman's Opinion Podcast. And you can email us with comments, questions, etc. at Cheers One Woman's Podcast at gmail.com. Our next episode next week will be season 1, episode 10, Endless Slumber. And that's One Woman's Opinion. Thank you.